So one of the things I can say that I've noticed with you as far as communication, what we're doing is that you do very well networking. We haven't gotten really into that piece as far as like business and things like that. And I admire that. Like you send me a picture, like, girl, look what I'm doing. And it doesn't always have to be a financial gain at the core. It's just that, hey, I'm able to deal with people, whether they're like me or they're not, which means you are secure with yourself though, when you're able to do that. Some people like, I ain't going, I ain't doing it. They ain't like, when you're able to go around about different spaces, things that you've never been exposed to before, and still engagement is communication. That's big. It's definitely something that I admire. I'm like, what this girl doing now? Let me see, and you're showing like, guess what I did? And that's great. Like I'll be living through you, girl. I'm like, okay, I'll try that one day. But now I see the pictures, I see the video. That's great. Engagement. That's big for communication, whether it's in a any kind of relationship. It's with a neighbor or your child. That's still a form of communication.
I feel like you do good on doing and trying things too, because even when we work together, like you were always planning stuff, like when you did the mortuary school, and I was like, what? You were like, girl, I'm so interested in it, whatever. Which was, and then you finish everything you start too. I know I start a bunch of stuff, whatever, but you have a plan all the way through. And then I know when you finished your degree, and then even when, I don't know if you knew that the layoff was coming, because you was ready. You were prepared for it. You must have did the rain dance to pray for it. You must have been you was ready.
Yeah.
And to move into your own business, to start your own business, like you, I was like, she must have planned for this.
Yeah.
So even that's something like, when you decided to, or just prepare to walk away to start your own business, you were actually prepared to do it anyway, whether the layoff came or not. Or, yeah. So I had paid you to stay there.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I always say it wasn't a bad job. It wasn't.
Oh, I loved it. It was a blessing.
It was a great job.
Yeah.
You just outgrow the space, and at that point, you want to do something different, and it's just not the space for you right now. At this point in your life.
At that time. Yeah. Everything just actually, like I said, to me, little things, it just falls into space, into place. Yeah, you have to be. Yeah, I did. I have my mindset, and I tell people this all the time, even when I'm speaking. A couple of times, but we didn't do it in 2020 due to COVID. But the church will have the church that I grew up in. They will have an annual Women's Day, and I'll usually speak for as far as entrepreneurship. And the first thing I say, what I did, because we used to shop, right, baby? We used to tear it up and had everything you can imagine. All the kind of bags, right? Every purse and shoes. Ridiculous, right? And one of the very first things that I
you said your baby was like, "Mommy, the mailman."
Got some more shoes. It was ridiculous, right? It should have been simple, but that was one of our purse. We worked right by the mall. And we would get it in, eat and get it in or whatever. But so one of the things that I did express when I talk about entrepreneurship or going out on your own is first you have to get your mindset about sacrifice. So the first thing that I really started to do was sell my purses. People always say, "What?" I sell my purses, Craigslist, OfferUp. Um, it was different sites. I would or send pictures to family, share with your friends and stuff like that because I knew purses and shoes. I knew that I had to let go of an image. I had because I was going to be starting from scratch. You know what I'm saying? Um, so to go from what we was making, money, and then you're like, man, I've got to start from scratch. I'm building, you're rebuilding. So that was the first thing I had to do was let that stuff go. And then, I always been pretty good with time management or whatever and been disciplined with that area. But I had to, because even still when I was doing that and working primarily overnights and going to school throughout the day, now I had so much more time available. How was I going to actually use that time? How was it going to be functional towards my goal or what I wanted? So, and the last thing I had to learn, it took me a little time as far as being a business owner, is the gift of I'm sorry. I never asked my family how they felt about me pursuing my goals. I've always just done what I wanted. I always had the support. My mom always helped me with the kids and things like that. Going to schools, 2 different schools at the same time, working nights, going, have to do my internship in the morning. I never had a doubt or a question about if I could accomplish whatever I wanted to, but I never said I'm sorry because I never asked you permission. You know what I'm saying? I took away my time from my daughter who was still young, you know what I'm saying, which was big because she always stayed at my hip. But I never realized that because it was something, hey, I wanted to do this and this is my goal, I'm going to do it. And I want you to see that I can do it. But in the midst of I didn't realize what I didn't embrace or engage the opportunity, that communication with her. How do you feel about me being responsible for other children, them taking, my energy? Because in all honesty, I'm exhausted, or whatever. I'm not available. I used to be at your school all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not available anymore throughout the day. Yeah, I can load them all up and get to a couple of your assemblies, but I can't just be there when I drop you off and go into the building and stay. You know what I'm saying? Like we were. So it was some things that I had to acknowledge as a mom and as a woman. Hey, I didn't do this 100% correctly. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sorry. That's my reflection for myself. And it took me that was probably 18, so about 5 years. After I was in business, about 5 years, I realized, hey, I never asked this kid that was always on my hip how she felt about this, or we were always together. I was always available to her. So yeah, that I'm sorry was big for me with my family.
Even when you talk about the responsibility of a business owner, and like you said, it is exhausting. It can be. It's more than a job. It's more than a job because so at your job you just go get a paycheck whether you do the work or not, right? Even if you don't sell or commission or whatever.
Right.
But with this, working for yourself. I guess you could always fall back to a job if you need to.
Yeah.
But the energy you have to put out to keep everything going is no small feat. The benefits, though, for me is I get to choose who I work with, as opposed to with a job. Then I have to take whatever they come in, and I'm responsible for the clients that they procure, whatever my customers are.
Right.
To some degree, you have some freedom, but you still have to be there enough to serve your clients' needs, whatever their schedule is. And I forgot what the other part was. But you have to do it to enough where they'll want to come back and keep giving you whatever the business that is.
Right.
So it is a strain. I mean, but and you take responsibility for the losses too.
Period.
With the right. So, but still, I still feel like it's worth it though.
Oh
That
yeah.
that is it is the piece. It is
Hmm.
the piece. Say to decide when you're gonna pivot or when you're gonna stay. And even
Right.
knowing that I have taken on that responsibility, even if it fails, it's still me and I still have control over how I move to make that work or to let it to I just feel better about it knowing that I got to choose what I did, and even if it was just an experience that I learned from that, um,
Absolutely.
so that I can do something different the next time. So.
Bet on yourself, girl.
So you,
Yeah.
I imagine that you would still say that even with the hardships, the challenges, and stuff like that, it's still worth it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Um, I think that this has been the best part of life for me. Um, even like I'm go back to business, but I want to go really quickly to the younger of my two children. We're gonna be going around. We like we do. Like what are we talking
That's fine. It's
about?
all related. It's all related.
uh, I remember being in school, work the night shift and going to school in the daytime. And then on my off nights, I'd be up writing papers and stuff like that. So I would have her on my lap, sleep across, on her stomach, sleep.
Mhm.
And as she started to get bigger,
Mhm.
she started to start picking up books, doing what I was doing, you know. And so then about, 3, 4, she was reading, big books. And people would be like, what? And I said, it was really her seeing me.
Mhm.
She was mimicking me, starting from that little on my lap and I'm typing and getting papers together
Mhm.
and she sleep and then still doing more work in front of her, even if
Mhm.
it was just those where we had 3 nights off, four tens or whatever. Yeah, the 3 nights off. But it was something that she saw and she started to mimic. Hey, she got a book. I'm gonna get a book. Even if she couldn't read it at that time. But then she just started. We just started working on the reading because I had to, homeschool her when I would be off of work or whatever. And so then I'm saying that to say that when she sees me do my business side of everything and still be a part of the family, um,
Mhm.
I'm not going to say that she will mimic me, but I know that she is able to say that she knows it's possible to do it.
Mhm.
So that was the same with her with the reading and things like that. Starting so young with the reading, now she's been writing for herself. You know what I'm saying? So because she knows that it's possible to do it. So those are those those you pieces we be talking about. And I want her to know that she has a value that's
Mhm.
beyond, her hair and her body and things like that. It's your mind and what are you absorbing and how are you able to manage through life. So the business part, yes, we've had a lot of trials. She's seen them firsthand. She's seen the struggle. She's seen me rebound. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
she knows it's possible. It's
Mhm.
not a, it's not a maybe.
Mhm.
It's possible. You can do it.
Mhm. Um, I had a thought. Oh yeah, because she's doing her podcast now. She's doing a podcast now. Her and
Yes.
her friends, right?
she
And she
I
did. She
like it
wrote the
too.
books. She wrote the. She's a published author.
Yeah, 3 books. Yep.
Yep. And I still and I think there was something else she was doing like entrepreneur night. I know we went to her piano recital and stuff
Oh
like
yeah.
that.
Yep.
And so she is developing. She has skills, and that was one of the
Oh
things
yeah.
I felt like I was lacking growing up as a teenager. That I didn't have skills.
Right.
I love.
But you know what? We were raised to work. Me,
Yeah.
it was go to school and get a job.
Hmm.
Now I tell her, hey, you got to be able to take care of yourself. Like the way that the world is going, you have to be able to take care of yourself. Everybody has a skill. Every single person is talented in some area.
Hmm.
Make use of it.
Yeah.
Make
Just
use of
know
it.
who they are.
Hmm.
Figure out what you like to do and
Yeah.
keep doing that, and then turn that into. Because you're right. Right now, even pre COVID, there was as I'm thinking, especially since COVID, like maybe. maybe jobs might be phasing out. You know,
That's what I'm saying.
well, from big corporations, maybe
Yeah, it's going to be different game. Yeah.
I think it is because smaller businesses are responding to the needs of people quicker than these big corporations can adapt to it. And so people who need the services of their neighbors or the local community um, are able to, they'll probably be expanding where they need the help, you know. And then I usually say that people with these skills that start these services, in order to grow, you actually do need to become a mentor. When you bring on help, you actually
Hmm.
you're more of a mentor, and you'll be doing less work in your business, kind of the phase where you are. It
Hmm.
actually is the phase where you are. Where because when I took that class with SBA, emerging leaders, they said as business owners, you, instead of working in your business, you move to a position where you work on your business,
Okay. Yeah.
and then you hire the people to work in your business to expand. But the problem that we're having is people are not using their skills. They're not developing and using their skills. So you can't even hire people because they're not doing the part of the job that you're hiring them for.
Yeah. And another thing that I point out when you were saying that about the possible candidates for employment candidates,
Mhm.
um, or even just mentees, is a big notice from what I see when I'm speaking with my peers. Um, is distraction. They're not disciplined. And some of that, in my opinion, comes from, that's my opinion, from what I see, is it comes from um, having these electronics and social media and so much in front of you. I was reading an article that said this generation, meaning maybe like 10 and younger, they can't, they don't really concentrate in school when a teacher is actually teaching them
Mhm.
because they're so used to 15 seconds of information and then another 15 seconds of something new and then 50. So they're not able to even sit still and grasp a 20-minute lesson on mathematics or a 20-minute, 15-minute lesson on history. 15 minutes. When we used to be in school, you was getting it throughout the day. But it's really interesting. So now they're saying like we have to become more creative with certain have creative techniques and things like that. And I get adjusting with the time, but that mental health is just the same because you have to be able to engage. I mean, people don't know anything about people. Like they don't even engage enough because they used to seeing people. Me personally, I don't think we were created to consume this much information
Mhm.
at our fingertips.
Mhm.
Um, you have someone across the world giving you a video of what they're doing for 15 seconds in their household. Then someone down the street can give you 15 seconds of what they're doing or how they feeling or whatever. And if you cross paths with that person, you wouldn't even know that that's the person you were
Mhm.
um, engaged with. Know
Mhm.
nothing about them, what have you. So just things like that. It's the distraction piece. So distraction is lack of discipline. So I see that as far as employment. I was talking to a esthetician yesterday, and she was saying she was looking for care for her son, and she said, "Well, I went to a center, and everybody was talking. They were just talking, all the adults." And I'm like, and I didn't understand what she was saying. She said they had these things in their ear, but they didn't work. The earpods. I'm like, and I said, girl, you can't have that and focus on a child. You just can't. And that's the thing with parents. Like, you cannot, um, I mean, you can, clearly they do it,
Yeah.
but the child is begging for your attention, your undivided attention. So even as a caregiver, a provider, a parent, you have to say, hey, this right here is more important than that. So when kids see that they're not that important or that distractions are okay. That's the way of life. It becomes a way of life for them. And that becomes a way of the workforce that's coming to our, coming ahead of us. So I know I'm running on, but that was just something that I observed as far as even looking for employees and things like that. I'm like, did you even take the time to type this up or spell check? Like when you put these letters on this resume, did you spell check it? But everything is fast. Click, send. Okay, I did it. And it's like, but you didn't do it effectively. You didn't do it efficiently. So what were you doing that you couldn't take the time out, to check yourself, to check it? That's not, yeah, it's a system that I've seen, I observed on my end.
I agree with that. That efficiency and effectiveness,
Mm-hmm.
which could sometimes be a handicap, but for the
Mm-hmm.
perfectionists, because they can't put it out because they're so worried about um, worried about the process and it being perfect. But now we're moving to the opposite extreme where people are just like, just take it.
Right.
Yeah. And then too, even people will ask me questions, and I'm like, that's on Google. I see that even on the internet. Like, why you ask the stuff that you could Google? You can
Yeah.
Google
Yeah.
but the response was that they want other people's opinion about it. But that's a different question. You know,
Right.
right? What
Get
is
the
it?
answer and then ask what's your opinion.
Right.
I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Because people even ask me about some of the things like the notary.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, what does it, what do I need to do to do it?
Well.
If you can Google it, if you can Google that, then that's probably not something that, I already know I'm not gonna put a lot of energy into that person because they're not even willing to do the basic research to find out if they could even, I don't care. They just not even willing to do the basic research. You ask me the question after you've done something, looked into
Right.
it. Ask me a question that's not on Google or something
Yeah.
like that. So
That's what I love about you. What you just said. I don't care. Don't come to me with that. I got stuff to do.
right, I'll Google it. I've done the work,
Right.
So, and I had to tell somebody that the other day, like, I'm out here working. I'm out here making my money. Now, once you do it, I can show you or tell you what I do to make the money. But whatever you ask me to do, and that's why I do so many different things too. That's one of the reasons because I want to have the exposure. I want to know the things that I like, the things that I don't like. It helps me to further define my value system, the things that are more important to me. Even if people are choosing degrees, they choose degrees on off one thing that they like. They like math, so they want to be engineers.
Hmm.
They like to read, so they want to be lawyers. Or they like science, so they want to be doctors. But there's so many more things that go into those professions.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got $100,000 worth of student, or $100,000 of education for a career that you don't like or wasn't really a good fit. My cousin became an accountant. He majored in accounting because he liked math, but he doesn't like the isolation.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to do more interacting with people. He doesn't want to just sit at his desk all day and type at a computer. But he does it because that's what his degree is, and he was able to secure a job in, and they pay him pretty well.
Right.
I don't know that he's feeling fulfilled where he spends 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week or more, and then he has to come home and be productive in his just as productive in his household.
Right.
And that puts a strain on those kind of things, which is probably the reason why we eventually decide to make those transitions and
Right.
doing the things we want to do. Um, Hopefully you don't spend $100,000 in
Right.
education to learn that.
Especially when I think you pointed this out. Two things. When you said your cousin did the accounting, my husband went to school for accounting, and I asked him, why did you do that? And his answer was his sister told him that they make good money. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, wow, okay. Like, but you have so many other skills. You're very good with your hands. You know what I'm saying? So we have to make sure we tune into our joys. You know what I'm saying? And our genuine interests, and not what society tells us we need to do or should do, the way that we should do it.
Mhm. That's one of the benefits of the social media and the internet and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It does give you exposure to the things that you can have your ear to the streets, to the things that people really need, and the things that you can do that fix your interest. Like later on today, I'm gonna try to make it to this archery shoot.
Okay, girl.
Um, but I don't know how to make a living if you enjoy doing archery, except for if you do build it like as you promote it as a hobby sport and to hunters, because there is a hunting community here in Arkansas, and the archery hunting season is much longer than the gun season. You can
Mm-hmm.
start hunting with archery bow and arrow first, um,
Oh.
for maybe I think like a good month, maybe
Mm-hmm.
or two, and then there'll be the modern gun season, which is a smaller portion of the time, but the archers can hunt the whole time. Now,
Okay.
obviously, that's a man-made system, because that's the way the law is structured. But could you do other things for archery? Like I said, unless you make it a sport, like golf is a sport, because
Mm-hmm.
there's no like tangible um, life skill. I'm not aware of any
Mm-hmm.
life skill that like golf does, but it's a major sport. So,
Right.
so there's opportunity in that for somebody who is inventive, um, innovative enough to do that.
Do they have like you know how they have the axe throwing? Do they have something like that? One of those facilities where they can do their operations? Okay.
There's one here, and there's a black woman that owns it too.
Okay.
It's called Take Aim, and I can't call her name right now, but she was on a panel that we did about black businesses after the protests and the George Floyd protests and the uh, pandemic. Um, what's next?
Okay.
So, but Cherie is her name, and she said she did it kind of. She wanted to show her children that they can create and do something that isn't normal. That may be outside of the spectrum for what black
Right.
people do. So she's got a good story too.
It's a space for you. It's a space for everybody.
Mhm.